Welcome to another edition of the Following On Daily podcast. I can't remember what number this is. They seem to be flying past us at the moment. We did say before we left the first test in Hyderabad that every day in India, every travel day is an arduous day. And we didn't go very far as the crow flies. But then the crow doesn't fly the way that we flew.
No, it didn't fly the way we flew. It definitely went the long way around with a little 3-hour stop off in between. We managed to see the sights of Mumbai from the air, but happily now we're in Vizag. We are not far from the game starting. A lot of question marks throughout this build up to the game from team selection's point of view, but exciting times. England 1-0 up, bounced here, and I'm sure there'll be, mentality wise, nothing changes.
The feedback's been incredible, hasn't it? I'm sure you've had messages from former colleagues, teammates, and I don't know whether you've had any contact with the England team. I'm sure you haven't, because we've been too busy travelling and trying to find coffee in airport lounges. But not even a lounge, actually, to be honest. No, seriously. Any further thoughts and reflections on what England achieved in Hyderabad? Is it beginning to sink in with you now?
It's beginning to sink in. I think reality is probably the very best win on isolation that I think any England cricket team has done. Ollie Pope's innings, I think, will go down as one of the best, and I think we'll still be talking about it in 20, 30 years' time. And England have given themselves a chance to go 1-0 up. Different from last time. England were 1-0 up in Ahmedabad 4 years ago, but this is a different team. This is a different mentality, and I think after Ahmedabad a few years ago, when Joe got a double 100, you look at that game and you go, I still think they'll lose, because Kohli comes out, talks about the pitches. They've got a stellar side, and even England going 1-0 up, you're thinking, yeah, I still think India have got a chance. There's a good chance India are going to win this series. I don't get that now. I really don't get that now. I look back at what was said beforehand. I mentioned preparation and talked about being old, and I've probably come to the conclusion, especially in the last week or so, that, and I think it's hit me more, that cricket around the world and the way cricketers are playing around the world, because they're playing so much different formats and different franchises, they can adapt very, very quickly. And I'm sure we'll come on to Shoaib Bashir, who's come into it, and Jack Leach, who is possibly injured. You know, we've seen in Australia, when Joseph goes over to Australia, 6 first-class matches, drops him into Australia on Australian pitches, gets 6 for and wins a match. The same as here. Tom Hartley, 20 first-class matches, 40 or 50 first-class wickets. You dropped him into India. Yes, he had a struggle in the first innings, but boy, did he bowl brilliant in his second innings, wins the match. So why can't they come and do that now? And it really that's one of the things I will take away from it, because I made some big calls before the series. And I think I realised afterwards that the way these guys prepare now and the way the guys play now around the world, gone are the day, like Kevin Peterson said, they could have gone to the moon to preparation from this. I did see Brendon McCullum after the game, and he did say to me that he asked me if I fancy going to Abu Dhabi and open the bowling for him in a warm-up game. But joking aside, look, I got it horribly wrong. I got it horribly wrong because of the preparation side of it. I always wanted them to win. I never want them to lose. I think for the first time England come over here since 2012 with a chance of actually winning the series.
When you mentioned Tom Hartley, I just want to say a big shout out to Ormskirk Cricket Club, because he came through. Yeah. He played for them from under 13 level, and they opened the pavilion bar and offered anybody that was around, all of their members. The first round was on them to celebrate Hartley's achievement.
Rightly so, because I thought he was excellent. Second innings, I thought he was excellent. We talk about the preparation and lines and lengths and how you get used to bowling in India, and you speak about this dressing room, and this dressing room spoke about a lot. And when they talk about the dressing room and they say, right, we get round people if things aren't going so well, and it's all well and good saying it, because I know it's going to happen. And I know Ben Stokes, I think, said in the dressing room all he talked about after the first innings was, celebrate Tom Hartley's first 6 in Test match cricket. Didn't mention anything about the bowling first innings. Made him feel 10 foot tall, but he came out and bowled that in the second innings, and that for me was what it was. The new players that coming in here, it's all well and good saying we'll look after them, we'll get round them, and if they don't have a good time, we'll sort of make sure that they feel good about themselves. The individuals have still got to come out and perform, and that was the beauty about Tom Hartley's performance. He actually learned quickly from what happened in the first innings. He slowed his pace down a little bit, but still kept enough revs on the ball, dropped his length back just a touch to make sure that, because I thought first innings he bowled a bit fuller, a bit negative, a bit fuller, which is a more one-day type. Brought it back a little bit, got spin, got bounce, got rewarded, and he'll have bounced to Visakhapatnam. Can you imagine him coming on a plane to here? It would have been his life's just completely changed, and a pat on the back for Scott Cricket Club.
And the millionth brilliant article written by Michael Atherton in the Times today discusses the selection of Tom Hartley and Rian Ahmed and Josh Tongue, and he talks about data-driven selection, and he compares it to 30 years ago when he, as England captain, a young England captain, sat in his first selection meeting, and he said everyone poured a cup of tea and then got a list of the county averages and said, right, well, he's averaging this much and this much. These days, it's the other way around. They go, what do we need for these conditions, and who can do that? So Tom Hartley was a brave decision, and he's brilliant. I mean, so was Rian Ahmed. He's also took 6 on debut. Josh Tongue took 5 as well. So that's a brilliant.
Couple of days on, what's your overwhelming memory when you think back to what is in my opinion, one of the great Test matches of all time? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I look back with great fondness, to be honest. It was probably the best win we've had as a side, and certainly the best win I've had playing for England. So to come back from 190 down, just an incredible feat, and gives us a lot of confidence going into this game.
Did you genuinely believe anything was possible?
Yeah, I did, to be honest, because we don't talk about that kind of thing in the change room at the time. We talk about how we're going to play in the next hour and the next couple of hours, and that's all we're focused on. And we knew that we could string 5 or 6 good 2-hour periods in a row back together, and we could win it, and that's what happened. And Popey played probably the best knock I've ever seen in Asia or abroad, and then Tom bowled unbelievably last innings. But like I say, I believe that the lads had it in them.
The great thing about a Test match series is no sooner have you finished one, then you're straight back in with the next one, and you kind of have to put all of that behind you and get to go again. Today is an optional practice day for the team, I understand, but looking around, it looks like most of the boys are here. What does an optional practice day mean for you?
It doesn't mean anything to me. I always turn up for practice, but it's more for the bowlers and the senior guys. But I enjoy practicing, to be honest, so I turn up. But like I say, nothing changes in this group. Every practice is optional. Baz always says that. You don't have to, if you don't want to practice, you don't have to practice. You just got to stick to the process. We're a very relaxed team. We focus on what we do well, and hopefully the results come from there. So nothing changes this week.
Potentially something might change with the bowling attack. Baz has hinted on an interview in New Zealand radio, England could go in with an all-spin attack. Has that been mentioned officially in the dressing room, or is that just Baz off the top of his head talking in an interview?
It hasn't been mentioned officially, but it never is, to be honest. Those guys discuss those things and then relay it to us in good time before the game. But anything could happen. If the pitch looks like it's going to be a Bunsen, then we'll go with what we feel is right. And if that's all spin, then that's all spin. If it's all seam, it's all seam. You can never really know with Baz and Stokesy, but they usually get it right.
India have made a couple of changes to their squad. No Jadeja this time around. I mean, that's a big change. No KL Rahul either. I mean, those are 2 big names when you're already missing Virat Kohli.
They are. They're very, very good players, but like we've said it before in our change room, they're going to replace them with 2 very good players. That's the thing with India. They've got unbelievable depth. Cricket mad nation, they're always going to have that good depth, and the 2 guys who come in are going to be top players, and so nothing changes for us. We're going to play the same way, and hopefully it's good enough.
The 3 guys who have been brought into the squad actually played against the Lions last week, all 3 of them, and all actually did well. So is there a lot of information that bounces backwards and forwards from this group, from the Lions, to the information that you can glean?
There will be, for sure. When we get an idea of their team, then we'll start having those conversations a bit more thoroughly and discuss with those guys about what they saw and what they think. But like I say, a lot of our concentration goes into what we do rather than the opposition. We'll have a quick look and discuss maybe what they bring, but most of it is discussing what we're going to bring to the game.
Can I ask you about this place? Very few of us have been to Visakhapatnam before. Neil Manthorp has been to India on 16 tours and he's never been here. Looking around this place, it feels really like a Caribbean ground, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a cool place. I've been here actually. I've been here when I was 17 for Kent Academy, and I really enjoyed it then. And yeah, it's a beautiful place. Lovely, like green hills, and yeah, it feels like Grenada or somewhere like that. So yeah, we'll have a good week, I'm sure.
Did you get any on that tour?
It was only a practice tour, but I felt in good touch. Yeah. No, we didn't play any games, but yeah, it was good.
In terms of the series, 5-match series, you're 1-0 up. Second game, look, I suppose you can make a case for every game being massive, but if England win this and go 2 up with 3 to play, you are in an unbelievable position, aren't you?
That would be unbelievable. Like I say, we don't think about that sort of thing. We'll think about that maybe to come day 5, if we've got a chance to, or we'll see where the game lies. But we're focused on very much today. Then we'll focus on practice tomorrow, and then day 1, and then we'll see from there. But you know, we try and win every game, but that's not all we focus on.
That was Zak Crawley having a chat to Andrew McKenna a little bit earlier. A couple of the England players said that the ground actually reminded them of a Caribbean venue. Maybe where? Trinidad?
Trinidad. They said it's a little bit. It looks as though it's on top here. I know one thing for certain. I don't think the wicket will play like anything like Trinidad. I remember last time I was there, or when I was there in 2004. If you bowled a bouncer, it certainly went. Well, it went head high towards a wicketkeeper. I'm not sure that's going to be the same on this wicket. But saying that about the surface, I'm intrigued to see how this surface is going to be. Are they going to play on a spinning wicket when India have just been spun out? Are they going to play on a flat wicket, which we expect Vizag to be a little bit flatter? It's a red soil pitch, maybe a little bit more seamer than spin sharply, so it'll spin slowly. I'm intrigued to see what India are going to play on, because if they play on an absolute shirt front and a flat one, well, we've seen what England did to Pakistan on flat pitches in the subcontinent. So, you know, a lot of scratching heads at this moment in time, I would imagine, Rohit Sharma and the powers that be at the Indian cricket team to work out what is the best team, what is the best surface, and what is, more importantly, the biggest point for me, what's the game plan to combat what England did to them last week.
We'll finish with India and their game plan and how it went for them in Hyderabad and what they might do to counteract that. But I want to talk about England's selection very quickly, because before this stage of Brendon McCullum's life, he used to co-host a breakfast show on SEN in New Zealand, and so he still does appear for them from time to time around the world now that he's England's Test match head coach. And I think 24 hours ago, he was on that breakfast show, and he was asked how much courage it took to play just one seamer, and he chuckled and said, well, perhaps we won't play any in the next Test match. And because they only played one seamer in the first Test, and he did say you've got to be brave a bit with your selections before the Test match. So there are people now genuinely talking about Shoaib Bashir at the age of 20, the off-spinner from Somerset, making his debut, and England playing no seamers.
I can't see England playing no seamers. I can see England playing Bashir. I really can. I can see England playing Bashir. I really don't see them not playing a seam option. You seen what Jasprit Bumrah did, and yeah, Mark Wood didn't get any wickets, but I think as a seamer, I think this is the big thing that Jimmy Anderson, I would imagine, will be telling Gus Atkinson, Mark Wood and Ollie Robinson in meetings. You're not coming here to get 5 for. You're not. It doesn't matter what anybody says. You're not coming here to get 5 for. The most you'll bowl in innings is maybe 14 or 15 overs if you've bowled well. Your job is to perform for the spin bowlers at the other end. The spin ball, it's an option that a captain needs, just to maybe change things up, to give the angle of attack, to make sure that the batter's sort of eye line is moved around a little bit, to then put the spinner back on. So the reason why I think they played the fast bowler was to do that. And I think looking at if these wickets are going to be the same, then Ollie Robinson might struggle to get a game, because you'd think if they're going to pick anybody of that type, it'll be Anderson. If they're going to play a seamer that's going to contain, and if they might just play one seamer this time, and that might be Jimmy. So I think England will definitely play one seamer. Whether they play 2 seamers, I'm not so sure. I've not really obviously I've not looked at the wicket, but I think all bets are off with this lot. I really do. I think all bets are off this lot. Second guessing them, trying to understand them. No, it doesn't matter what it is. Ben's going to go out there with five good bowling options, because you've got to say you don't count Joe in the bowling option because he's the greatest batter that we've ever produced, but you count him as your 5th bowling option. So you go with your 4 best bowling options plus Joe to give the captain 5 options to try and get 20 wickets. If it's going to be 3 spinners, 1 seamer and Joe, then I think that might be again what happens. If it's going to be 2 and 2 because Leach is injured, then I think Anderson and Wood, if you can get Woody back into play, because we've seen what Bumrah did, and Bumrah was excellent. But I think Mark Wood didn't get a wicket, but I think because of his pace, he contributed to what was happening at the other end. If you remember, right on that early in the morning, I think when the wheels had come off, I think it was at the end of the first innings when Joe came on from the commentary box end, Mark Wood started from the changing room end, and that set the tone. There were 6 overs there of tight bowling, aggressive bowling, but also, it got England going, and I think bowling from both ends, I think that worked. So I think the seamer is important. He might not get wickets, but he still plays a crucial part of what happens at the other end.
And finally, Scotty and Macca were actually watching the Indian practice, and apart from their first-hand eyewitness accounts, we've also heard from several of our colleagues in the written media that the Indian practice session was unusual. I actually heard that from an Indian journalist. He said it was highly unusual. The words chaotic were also used, and unexpected, because all the top 6 were playing sweep shots. Now, KL Rahul's played 4 sweep shots in his entire innings of 86. Hit them all for 4, but that's how seldom they play the shot. So there's that aspect of they're playing shots that are unusual to them. The Indian batting coach Vikram Rathore did the press conference, and he said it's very difficult to work on new things because most of our players are multi-format players, so they don't get time to practice and work on new things because they're constantly playing all the time. So there's that aspect. So they're going to counter England's or try and match England's sweeping and reverse sweeping by playing that shot more themselves. But the thing that still intrigues me is how Rohit Sharma, as captain, pretended that it wasn't there. I mean, I used the metaphor of a smell in an elevator. You pretend it's not there because if you don't know what to do about it. And he didn't, did he? I mean, you've got Ollie Pope, reverse sweeping, and he never changed the field to try and stop him, or at least try and dissuade him from playing that shot. So a lot for India to think about.
A hell of a lot for India to think about. Their team selection is going to be interesting because they've got 2 big players coming out. I can't believe they're going to the sweep shot. Why would you? If you're Rahul Dravid, surely you're gonna be looking at them and going, well, it's not the sweep shot that's beating us here when it comes to our batting. The sweep shot has beaten us because our captain has got an ego that he doesn't want to go down the a bit like Dean Elgar did. And our spin bowlers don't understand how to bowl to that sweep shot. So that for me is what I'd be more concerned about. Not that my top 6 need to reverse sweep every 3rd ball for 1 or 2 or 4, because England weren't looking at a massive reverse sweep to hit it for 4. They just thought, right, there's a gap there, I'm going to turn around, I'm going to hit it over there because I can. And that's all England did. The problem for me was Rohit Sharma let it go on for so long that he didn't block that gap off. So that would be my advice towards the England cricket team is don't have an ego when you come into Vizag. Put a man on a boundary, make your bowler bowl to that area, and if he wants to hit it over the top of him or through him, then so be it. But block the area off. Don't be egotistical and think, well, it'll hit it up in the air in a minute. Because for me, in that second innings, Rohit Sharma thought, I've got 190 runs to play with. They'll hit the ball in the air eventually. 420 runs later, England have got a lead of 200 plus, and are looking as though they're going to win the game. And that has always been about this team. When people think they won't do it against us, until the team realise the horse is bolted, gone, and you ain't stopping them. You ain't catching Stokes' mob. I think if Rohit Sharma bolts that horse, bolts that door, stops that shot, puts pressure on the batter, we're playing on spinning surfaces. We're playing in India's back garden. Pressure will then come on. And that's what I'd be saying to the Indian team, rather than, well, we've got to go out top 6 and we've got to play the reverse sweep shot. All their batters average 45 by hitting the ball down the ground and playing lovely the way they do. That's not the problem for me. For me, the problem was in the captaincy. the captaincy cost India, because he didn't have it in him to understand how to combat what England were doing, and that would be a worry.
At least ask the question, change the field, see whether they still play the shot, and and if they do, then you've got a decision to make. But at least you ask the question.
Pressure in this country.
Yeah.
Pressure in this country. Can I put pressure on this country? Can I put the pressure on the batter, especially an overseas batter, for long enough in this country for my bowlers to do their magic? And unfortunately for India, Robert Sharma didn't put pressure on the batter for long enough, or at any point during that second innings. He did in the first innings, but any point in that second innings. And like I said before, once the horse was bolted, Ollie Pope, once he got past 25, he played an absolute ridiculous innings that won England the game.
Well, we told you in Hyderabad that Visakhapatnam is a very holiday popular destination, a very popular holiday destination as well. It's both of those things. One of the reasons is that these beautiful rolling hills sort of create a little microclimate, and it's always a couple of degrees cooler. It's also got beaches, sea breeze, and we'll show you the stadium tomorrow as well.